The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 11th day of March, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Mia Chambray. And Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. Happy Tuesday, Mia.
Happy, very rainy Tuesday in Bermuda.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We need that rain, right? We need the rain.
We need the tank rain.
Yeah. I think when I first moved to the U.S., I was living in Huntsville, Alabama, all the way back in 2001, right? Wow. And yeah, probably before Teray was born. And I couldn't age Maya. I had to pick on somebody. But with that said, every time it rained, I was like, what's the point of it? And then I realized, like, if it didn't rain, it'd be like another California situation where there's wildfires and the like. So growing up in Bermuda, I thought the only point of rain was to have water to get a bath in and shower. I did. I hadn't even thought of like disasters that are caused by it. But
that's hilarious. Yeah, because everything needs water to grow and live, you know?
Yeah.
Every living thing needs the rain.
Did you do anything fun on the long weekend? A long weekend. Yes.
Long weekend? There wasn't a long weekend. Did I do anything fun on the weekend? Yeah. So Sundays is a day where I take Gunner skateboarding on Sundays, and then he's getting into BMX. So we did a little bit of BMXing. We met his friend Noah. We did a little walk around the park for Riddles Bay, and then we went over to a friend's house for dinner. So yeah, it was a big Sunday.
Do you know how to skateboard?
No.
Have you tried?
Yes. I tried very recently again, just to remind myself about what Gunner was doing, because he's doing like a lot of pretty heavy stuff.
Okay.
And I stood on it and there was like a pole near me and I just grabbed the pole for like dear life.
You know, it reminds me of skating back in London when I was like, I was really very young. It was like the 94 Christmas and I went to London and I have never been skating again. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're going to leave that. It was a long weekend for us because we weren't on yesterday. So, you know, we gave people an extra day away from us. You know, we didn't think they really wanted to see us. But anyway, folks, let's jump into it. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Michael Parker on from the BAC Group for another segment of Ask the Expert. We're going to be talking about your HVAC systems. Now, conversation like this is fun to me because having lived in Florida where it's humid, I don't think I was being cheap. I was being cost effective, right?
Okay.
So I, try to not use my AC, and then everything in my closet turned mildew, and then I developed a cough. This is true. I'm serious. And it was the worst thing ever. So that's why a conversation like this for me is like having a doctor on. It literally is. And then I had an ex-girlfriend who visited me when I was living in Boston.
Right.
It was the worst winter in Boston. We had record snowfall. And again, because I was being cost effective and energy efficient and environmentally friendly, I didn't want to use my heat. And so the true reason I didn't want to pay for heat. But anyway, all that stuff sounds good too. So that didn't work out too well because you got to turn your pipes on apparently. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation. Daily Play is a remember when, folks. Remember when. So let's see if Mia and you all can get this history question. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Jumping right into the convo today, folks. Look, there's a lot going on. And I just started watching the news again, probably while I was in Bermuda recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I started watching the news. And when I say news, like after the election of Donald Trump in November, I just stopped watching the news. It was just, it was too much for me. Obviously, doing this show, you have to stay tuned in. So I would read certain articles that came across me, but I would not watch the news because I wanted to respond, like how you all have the chance to engage with us. That's what I wanted to do with David Moore and the rest of them. And so one of the things that has been in the news pretty much since before I started really watching again, because I've been reading about it, is the US and its trade wars with other countries. Mm-hmm. And, you know, questions have been asked of the government of Bermuda, but I don't think this is just a government of Bermuda thing. I think this is a people of Bermuda thing. And I think one of the things I hope we can do is become less reliant on the government as it pertains to our own individual destinies, right? But the question of the morning is, how can Bermuda and Bermudians best prepare for a potential trade war? Now, I say potential because every time you look, the president of the United States is postponing it for a week or 30 days or whatever. But how can we best prepare for a potential trade war? Like, what can Bermudians do to best prepare for a potential trade war? But also, just a yes or no question, because some people seem oblivious to it when I get into conversations. But do you believe Bermuda will be impacted by a potential trade war? Do you believe Bermuda will be impacted by a United States trade war? Just a yes or no. And we'll share the QR code for those who may not want to put their answers out so that everyone sees them. But that's the question. Do you believe Bermuda will be impacted by a potential trade war? And for those of you who are on your phones and can't do the QR code, here's the link in the comments right here. You can just click this link and you can vote. But do you think that Bermuda will be impacted by a potential United States trade war? That's your yes or no. And again, keep it coming. What are your thoughts? How can Bermuda best prepare for a potential trade war? How can Bermuda? Well, let's go through these first. Yeah. Everyone believes yes. Denise Hollis says yes. Mm-hmm. Charles II says yes. Marquita Lee says yes. NTS says yes. Jean Ann Richardson says yes. We've got Chica Reyna. Yes, absolutely. Okay. I mean, it's consensus, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but okay, so we understand. Everyone's pretty much in alignment that Bermuda will be impacted by United States trade war. How can Bermuda and Bermudians best prepare for that, though?
Well, I think that we have some really amazing minds here on the island that could absolutely. I know that there's people who have like sustainability plans or food security plans. You know, somebody like Malachi Simons or Omar Dill, who were recently on the political platform. I know they're both really committed to sustainability and food security, and they're both farmers, and they both have backgrounds in it as well. Especially, I know, speaking for Malachi, you know, he has a degree in this. So maybe leaning on our Bermudian experts to create, or they may have already created a plan. So maybe lean into that plan and use our resources, maybe government land, or somebody it doesn't necessarily have to be government, but somebody may have some spare land. I saw the other day in Copenhagen, I believe it was, that they used 7 acres and it was farmed by just people in the community. And they took what they wanted and the rest was actually donated to the rest of the town. So potentially we could do a couple of different lots like that in Bermuda, and then we could give away the food afterwards to people who are in need in the community, or just people in the Bermudian populace at large. Also things like solar or wind energy. Solar has its trouble. It's got battery issues, things like that, but maybe wave. There's lots of different ways I'm sure we could create energy and food security with the brilliant minds and plans that we have locally here on the island. Absolutely.
I think food security is extremely important to this, Mia. And we've had numerous conversations on this show about how we can all be better with that. I think we always thought that you needed land to, grow your own food, and it's been proven that we don't necessarily need land.
No.
Maybe a bit of space, but we don't need land. You don't necessarily need a garden. I think it was Killer Mike who said, how are we truly going to be free if we don't know how to hunt and, for our own food, right? And grow our own food. Audience, what are your thoughts though? How can Bermuda, I mean, Mia just gave you a lot to work with. I knew I'm going to put her on the spot before the show when we came up with this, because this was a last minute topic. She's like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm quiet, waiting for it. I'm like, this is the most sustaining thinking person going. Like, how does she not know? Like, she's all about sustainability. But in saying that, she just gave you something to go on. Like, how can Bermuda and Bermudians best prepare for? I'll tell you one thing, and Mia said it prior to the show. We have to develop stronger bonds with Canada and the Caribbean.
Definitely.
We have to develop stronger bonds with, jurisdictions other than the United States.
Agreed.
No, he's not one of my favorite people. I probably shouldn't have said that, but you all know David Burt Premier ain't one of my people. No, he's not. But he's in talks about CARICOM. Now, I don't know the benefits of Bermuda truly joining it. I'm waiting on it to hear it. But could that be helpful to Bermuda developing stronger ties to other jurisdictions? Could that be a way? I don't know. But Bermuda definitely, we definitely need to diversify our trade and economic relationships. We have to.
I agree. And I think like a silver lining of that is actually that many of these countries outside of the US have really amazing like food integrity standards. So the US's are, and in regards to food and cosmetics, actually are really actually quite terrible. So if we were to maybe source food more from Europe or Canada or the Caribbean, there's definitely benefits, health benefits for us. So I see it all to be actually silver linings. In the darkness, there can be silver linings. I know obviously the US is one of the closest points to us, but maybe silver linings. And then potentially we could do everything that comes in from Canada. We negotiate a zero tax, zero duty. And then, there could be so many different, there could be financial benefits to this as well. Like so many different, so health, economics, just there could be so many different benefits to actually.
I definitely think we're on the same page. I mean, we're still a British territory.
Exactly.
Relationship with the European Union, although the UK is no longer part of the union. I mean, there's opportunities there. So what else, audience? How can Bermuda and Bermudians best prepare for a potential trade war? Here's another one. This may sound rough, and we've been waiting on Premier Burtcoin or FinTech or BurtTech or whatever we want to call him.
Yeah.
Right. We've been waiting on him to deliver on that whole, digital space, but technology and innovation. Because at this point, regardless of what's printed on the front page of the newspaper today about tourism numbers doing well, but the hotel sector holding them back, I tell you what, we need to find another. We cannot keep relying on the IB sector, reinsurance and captives and stuff like that. So we need to find another way. Maybe it is, the fintech and crypto and blockchain. And I don't know how any of that works. But we need to find a way.
Potentially, but also in places like Costa Rica, obviously I know there, and Jamaica, places like that. And I know the land is so much bigger, obviously, but there's things like agricultural tourism. So could we lean into something like that? And then that again benefits our food security. That's a whole other avenue that we could go down.
I agree. I absolutely agree, Mia. Let's go to the audience. Let's go to the audience, see what they're thinking. Well, we've got Renee Simmons says Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He's experimenting with the USA. Yes, certainly. I believe we will be impacted like everything else. Dr. Lou Edward Matthews says higher prices already. Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, I think I'm going to have to get back into fishing. Okay. Don't let Peter hear you say that. They'll come for you. Renee Simmons says, eggs are $9 to $16. Who would have thought an egg would cost $1? Look,
well,
buy your own chickens, I guess. Be a chicken breeder.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many wild chickens around. We just went into the bushes and see what's up.
Honestly, I'm completely joking. Chickens just seem like a whole lot of I mean, it's the risk and the reward, right? They seem like a lot of work, but
they are a lot of work. Not seem like they are a lot of work.
But if you want eggs, if you like eggs that much, then I guess we're gonna have to purchase the chicken. And I mean, it's like the cow, right? You purchase the cow so you can have milk, and it's easier to talk about than done, you know. And I think that's the challenge. We've got Sheikha Reyna says CARICOM could be helpful. Barbados has a good deal with a country in West Africa. Yeah, I think, is it Ghana? And Venezuela for packaging and distribution. I think Barbados, if nothing else, they have probably arguably one of the greatest leaders on the face of the earth, and Mia Mottley. I think she would be one to probably consider developing a stronger bond with before anyone in the United States, just the way she operates, with a confidence and a swagger that you're not going to tell just because she's a woman, you ain't taking her seriously. She is a leader. Lou Edward Matthews says there could be retaliation threats as well for taking sides. Well, here's the thing. A place like Bermuda is not taking sides. It's really just finding a way so that Bermuda and Bermudians don't lose. And I don't think developing stronger bonds elsewhere is taking sides if it works out for your country economically, right?
Absolutely.
But again, we're not dealing with logic. We're not dealing with it's not rational. So I take his point. Sheikha Reyna says all of the empty schools can be repurposed. Maybe that's land we say we don't have.
I love that idea.
So we've got Heron Bay. We've got, Spice Valley is already being used. I think it's the school. Port Royal's not going to be there, right?
Port Royal's there. Port Royal's very high. Really.
I think they said they're going to get rid of Prospect, but that's a good point. All these, because we discussed a couple years ago what should be done with the schools that they're closing, but they could be used to repurpose and maybe grow foods and have different things. And
I love that idea, Sheikha. That's a great idea. Between that and like daycare facilities for seniors, I think that would be really nice. Or maybe it could be a mix of the two. So I
remember when people said that, Mia. I remember when people were saying daycare facility for seniors, and the first thing was, well, where's the money coming from?
Well, that's true. Well, maybe if we have the farm, then we sell the goods, and then that helps as a revenue stream for the daycare. But then the seniors get the medicinal properties of putting your hands in the soil and, you know, eating all those organic good greens, really great for your health. So maybe it's just like a circular, you know, that's beneficial for everybody involved.
Okay.
That could be cool.
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah.
Jeff the second, he says, are the eggs from feral chickens okay to eat? This is not likely for Teo or Jamal.
You know what, Charles? I actually found a feral chicken egg the other day under our loquat tree in the back outside of my apartment. And Gunnar and I were super excited. We're not to eat it, just that we found an egg in general. But it was empty. Well, we didn't crack it, but it felt very light. And I don't think they're safe to eat. No. But you can have one and it could be your pet.
He was definitely being facetious, but I'll tell him this much. I do wonder, since Teo ruined my egg eating many years ago. I never, because listen, like my uncle, reason I stopped eating pork in the 90s, and he eats pork. And I'm like, I wonder if Teo is one of those people who made me dislike eggs and actually eats a fried egg mornings. I don't know. Anyway.
Teo's a real shady.
Yeah, that crazy guy. Renee Simmons says, my brother has been raising his own chickens for years. He has goats, rabbits, chickens, and ducks. A real farmer owners. I love that. I mean, you don't see that anymore. You just don't see that. If you don't mind me asking, Renee Simmons, is he based in Bermuda? Yeah. Yeah, is your brother based in Bermuda? Audience, what else? What else can Bermuda and Bermudians do? And again, this is about us as well. Like, this is not just about what the government can do for us. Like, what can we do for ourselves? And I like what Mia's said in the beginning. It's like, be more self-sustaining, grow our own food, catch our own food. We've got a lot to be concerned about with a trade war. Prices in Bermuda are already high.
Yeah, absolutely.
We import everything pretty much.
Yeah. And we never used to be like that. I mean, I spent loads of time with David Lopes. And from what I can gather from his generational knowledge, which is just absolutely precious, is that, and also his peers, is that it never used to be like that. We used to actually be very, very we used to be really sustainable and self-sufficient. And in years gone by, we've swapped that for convenience. So we need to really get back to our roots in regards, literally, not just figuratively. And I had a victory garden in my last little cottage. We had 3 big beds. It was wonderful. We ate carrots, tomatoes, cucumbers, watermelons. Now I have an apartment, so we have really small little victory gardens, and we just do things like kale and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we need to really look back at what our ancestors did here in Bermuda and maybe go back to that and really learn from our grandparents and our great grandparents. Potentially.
People don't like to go back. That's another thing. Real quickly, we've got to bring Maya in. But I'll say this much. Again, the premier has been over in the Middle East. Like, are those relationships of interest? Are those some of the things we should be considering as we try to figure out new relationships in other jurisdictions? I don't know, but one thing I will say is I hope that our eyes are wide open, because based on the response to the question this morning, do you believe Bermuda will be impacted by a United States trade war? 100% have said yes, whether it's through the QR code or directly on the screen. I just hope everyone's wide awake and prepared. If you think Bermuda is expensive now, folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan and Secure Trucking. We've got to bring Maya in for Daily Hour News Break, and we've got a very special guest, our first Ask the Expert this year. And folks, one of my favorite topics, I know you might be saying, why is HVAC your favorite topic? Because when it comes to the system in the house, just call me El Cheapo. Let's give some love to Secure Trucking and Titan Express.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All right, let's bring Maya Palacio in for Daily Hour News Break. I think I have a joke for you guys today, too.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, MP, how you doing?
Maya.
Morning, Mia. Morning, Jamal. I'm doing pretty well. I like this conversation. Whenever we talk about, just being sustainable for yourself and healthy living practices and working with your hands, I love that type of discussion. I don't know if you guys ever watched any of the Netflix. I want to call them like mini docs on like blue zones.
I haven't.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, basically, it's like areas in which people have like live longer, have longer longevity, and why is that? And why does that happen? Because number one, big thing about community, big thing about food and staying active. So things that you need in order to live longer and live healthier as well. So yeah, one of the big things was having a community, but also when you talk about gardening and just the movement that does, just making sure you're up and down constantly. One thing I must say, and my mama taught this to me, and I've seen it in my papa and my grandma, because I've been so active. And my papa has been gardening forever. My family still gardens. We have a big garden in our family home, and we share vegetables from that and take from that and assist when we can. But I know my papa's still out there, and he's early 80s to mid 80s, and I've never had to help my grandparents health-wise because they're still very much so mobile and active. And that's I feel like it's such a privilege and a pleasure to know that. My mom talks about that a lot to me. It's just like, grandma has never like asked for any help, papa's never asked for any help. Like I don't have to like stress about them right now because they're still so active and healthy in their lifestyles that we don't really have to, stress too much about their health. And needing to assist them 24/7, which is just a blessing that I didn't even recognize until like most recently.
I'm gonna have to get one of this Blue Zones thing. I checked it out.
So it's people who live to 100, the most areas in the world. Yeah, I think Bermuda is not listed on there, but we do have so many centurions. Yeah,
sounds interesting. What you got for us today, MP?
All right, so good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Owl News Break brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy. So starting out on News Break this morning, we're talking about a BPS investigation leak of confidential Savvy case information. So we talked about Savvy Entertainment. This has been brought right back up to us and put in our faces about that $800,000 that, still missing from the island. While the Bermuda Police Service is investigating a breach after confidential details about the Savvy matter, which was held since 2019, was recently leaked. The Commissioner of Police has called the unauthorized disclosure a serious concern, emphasizing that confidentiality is not optional, but a fundamental duty. The commissioner said when a serving or former officer leaks information, it undermines public trust. So the BPS remains committed to transparency and accountability and urges anyone with information to contact the Chief Inspector, Jason Smith, about this leak in the case.
No comment. I guess I wonder. I mean, you got to respect the institution. I wonder can one be prosecuted for leaking information? But also, is the information in the best interest of the public? It's a delicate thing. You get me? It's delicate. I get the information should not be leaked because there's a investigation probably still ongoing, which I mean, it kind of is. But you don't want to prejudice that if you actually want to get justice. But is it of public interest? All right, cool. I'm done.
Well, in other information, International Women's Day was recently celebrated and women were honored. But looking past the positive, Social Justice Bermuda speaks up for the actual changes and impacts women are still waiting for in Bermuda. Here we go. Justice can't wait. That's the message from Social Justice Bermuda this International Women's Day. The group says deep inequalities still shape the lives of women and girls in Bermuda, and progress requires more than just celebration. They're demanding action in 4 key areas: abortion rights, pay equity, emotional labor, and gender-based violence. Social Justice Bermuda supports the government's plan to remove abortion from the criminal code, but insists true access means affordable care, no bureaucratic delays, and inclusion in universal health care. On pay equity, they want mandatory salary transparency laws, public audits on gender and racial pay gaps, and penalties for companies that don't comply. They also highlight the burden of unpaid emotional labor, both at home and in the workplace. At home, women are expected to manage household logistics, caregiving, and emotional support, often at the expense of their own well-being. At work, women take on office housework, organizing events, mentoring colleagues, and maintaining harmony, all without recognition or compensation. Expanding on their explanation, they highlighted how Black women in particular face the double burden of managing not only gender expectations, but also the added emotional labor of navigating racism in predominantly white spaces. Justice requires more than just thanking women for their work. They say it demands a redistribution of these responsibilities. They further said that this International Women's Day, they call on employers, schools, and community leaders to acknowledge and compensate the hidden work that women do.
I commend them on that. I commend social justice on that statement, because I think we've gotten so caught up in parades and thank yous and awards and recognition that we fail to execute the actual work that needs to happen. So props to them. And I just hope that there's action to follow this and follow up. Like, we're not waiting till the next celebration to make our voices heard.
Yeah, indeed. I don't know if you want to add to that, but even just talking about the first thing that obviously was the Abortion Act, because we've talked about that consistently. I mean, I've talked about it many times on my platform, and we saw what was it? Not recent anymore. It feels like it must be like maybe like 5 to 6 months when former Senator Adriana Hudson like brought it up again in the Senate and was just talking about how, hey, these laws are, they're old, they're outdated, they need to be changed, they need to be fixed. And yet we're still, on the block waiting to see, okay, well, what's next in this motion, because it was talked about, but has anything actually been brought up the pipelines and actually making real legislative change in this? So, talking is one thing, action is another.
Indeed.
Agree.
Mm-hmm. Well, closing out with some news about, let's say, our health in Bermuda, because the dementia and Alzheimer's in Bermuda is a growing concern, and which continues to actually be highlighted to encourage education regarding its effects. Well, speaking on it recently in a conversation hosted by the government was occupational therapist Marie Fay and Erica Fulton, the director of dementia in Bermuda. Now, they dived into a bit of added data and statistics as to like the numbers in Bermuda, who faces it the most, and why that is. So here's a video of some of their conversations, so you get a glimpse of what we're looking at here on Bermuda.
Dementia has been around for more than 100 years, but we are seeing the incidence increase over time. Globally, there is approximately 55 million people who are currently living with a diagnosis of dementia. But the truly scary thing is that that number is meant to double every 20 years, along with the world's aging population. Right. And we're seeing very similar statistics in Bermuda as well. We would estimate, based on our population size and the risk factors that we have here, that there's around 3,000 people who are living with a diagnosis of dementia. That's
pretty big though for our size,
yeah.
Right?
And we're hoping to collect more concrete data to support that over time. Women are predominantly impacted by dementia. They say twice as many women will receive a diagnosis of dementia as men. Right now they're saying because our life expectancy is that much longer, that's one of the risk factors.
Yeah, having a nana who's got been diagnosed with it, it's hard to see people, and I think people is younger and younger. I had a friend of mine in Florida when I was living there. Her mom was diagnosed early 50s, and that was hard. It's hard. So, that's a difficult one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that goes back to what Maya was saying about how you live, how you eat. There are things that can be managed through diet, exercise, etc. And they say I was listening to a podcast with a brain neurosurgeon, and he was saying in the next 20 years, every 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed with either Alzheimer's or dementia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Charles actually makes a great point, and that's just those who are diagnosed. Many are not diagnosed, right?
I was just about to mention that, Charles. Yeah, they went on to further even explain about how, because a lot of things are stigmatized, especially when it comes to healthcare, and people don't like to come forward when these things may be happening, or they feel like changes are even happening as they age, and they don't want to concern nobody else. They don't want to even speak up for it, or be coddled in some way. So it's actually hard for people to come forward once they feel like something might be different or difficult, or something's happening, and they don't get that diagnosis. So oftentimes, and they spoke about this a lot, oftentimes these statistics, it's very hard for them to gather, because either people don't come forward, or people don't want to be tested for it, or get the additional information and help that they need. So difficult circumstances. Now, before I close out and tell you guys the weather, just some information for those who do reach out to their parish constables often. And if you don't, you might want to actually start a good source that you have and you're entitled to as a resident of Bermuda. But the Bermuda Police Service wishes to inform the public that commencing March the 10th, a number of parish officers will be redeployed to general patrol duties. Now, this redeployment will last until Saturday, May the 17th, and it's part of the continued efforts to make Bermuda safer, whilst other officers are involved in training. So there will be less parish officers than normal for the time being.
All righty, how's the weather looking?
Weather's looking like some cloudy periods with some heavy rain and some showers heading later to you. So I don't know if you're going to see a lot of sun today, but just make sure you are prepared for the rainy weather coming up. And we got a high of 69 degrees, but it's going to be some occasional gusts of winds too. So again, safety while on that bike, and bring your raincoat. Don't try to act brave.
All right. Yeah. Give us the days of the year. Give us something nice. What is it?
Oh gosh, days of the year today. Well, you won't believe this, guys, but it is National Athletic Training Day today.
I mean, after the conversation in the TDH group yesterday, I guess we're all going to be athletes in another 2 months.
Yes, exactly. And I want to know from the audience, will anybody be participating in the May 24th marathon, either relay or doing the full marathon? We want to know. And then it's yeah,
it's a half marathon, by the way, folks. Don't
half marathon.
1 mile.
A half marathon feels like a marathon to me. Will anybody is anybody training for that, or do they know anybody who's doing it? The TDH, we've committed to. We have committed to doing a relay team.
Yeah, coach right here. And Maya's doing the whole thing. No. My doctor I'm working on my hip, you guys. My hip. Like, so if my hip gets right by
Okay, Shakira.
Wow.
Well, look, if your hip's that bad, Jamal, you could be the last leg and you can walk it. Put it that way. No, Mia's out here speaking things into existence. I've been trying to like train out here in Canada, and then I did get sick, so I'm like trying to like build up my strength. I'm really pushing to one day. This will be my first year to do it, and my mom did it 1 year, and I think what really encouraged me to do it is just like how little women like participate in these things, and how like the history of women running in these marathons or half marathons have been like so crucial about like just fighting for this right to just run. Like, and I think I was like, that's so. Anyway, I thought it was like really crazy, but I felt like it was also like a duty of mine, knowing that like, hey, look, I have the time to train. My body is capable and able, and I want to thank it by doing this, and knowing that there's a lot of mothers in my life now that like can't even train for something that they probably want to do, and I want to like do it for them. Like, I want to be able to do it for other people.
Sounds like a 20-year-old talking about my body alone. See, my body ain't alone. Like, my hip used to be. Guys, we got to run, but I want to give you a laugh before we go.
Okay.
You want to laugh?
Let's see what you can do.
Hopefully.
She said, let's see what you can do. All right, here's your joke. Audience, Maya, what is email's least favorite food?
Email.
Junk.
That's funny.
Email. What is email's least favorite food? Spam. Yes, Charles. Yes, spam, like email spam. No, okay. I've never had spam, by the way.
I like spam.
It doesn't look good on the tin. I don't know.
I feel like it has a strong history, spam.
Yeah, it's very popular in Hawaii.
Oh, what is it? Like, what is it made out of?
Who knows?
You just said you like it. I thought
meat, right?
It's mystery meat, I think.
Charles got it. He got it. Spam.
Yes, Charles.
Pork ham added. Okay, spam, that a canned meat product, is made from 6 ingredients: pork with ham, salt, water, potato starch, sugar, and sodium nitrate.
Oh.
I haven't had it in a long time, so I was like a kid.
She changed that real quickly. Maya, we'll see you soon. Oh, hey, go enjoy a spam sandwich, MP. All right? Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We've got Michael Parker. Hopefully, we can have an extended conversation, HVAC. But in the meantime, do us a favor. Whatever platform you're on, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, make sure you give us a like, love, follow, share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and we'll be back in 3 minutes, 21 seconds. Stick with us.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Unlock your business potential with BDC's General Micro Loan, offering up to $30,000 for Bermudian small and medium businesses. Whether it's for inventory, working capital, or equipment, we provide 100% guarantee on approved loans. Simple application, low interest rates, and fast processing. Apply today and make your business dream come true.
Considering the increasing challenges faced by financial institutions, the need for insurance protection is a critical component of the risk management framework. At Friesenbrook, our priority is to safeguard your assets with the most optimal, cost-effective risk management cover to help protect your business, whether it be cyber, directors and officer liability, professional indemnity, or property insurance. Call us on 296-3600 to learn more about our full suite of competitive corporate insurance products. At Friesenbrook, we provide insurance you can count on.
Join us as we celebrate 5 years and 1,000 plus episodes of community conversations on Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. The Daily Hour Gala takes place on April 26th at LF Wade International Airport. For more information and advance tickets, please send an email to admin@bermudacommunications.com. We look forward to celebrating all that's great about our community with all of you.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Mia Shembray. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's give a warm TDH welcome to our guest for the day. It's the first Ask the Expert segment of the year. Give a warm TDH welcome to Michael Parker from the BAC Group. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Good morning, team. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are we doing today?
We're good. I got to ask you because they're trying to force me to run the Bermuda Day half marathon thingy. And I kind of got them to understand I've got these hip issues, but they're not buying it. But have you ever done anything like that?
Not to that extent. No, I'm more of like a 3 to 5K guy, and then I'm feeling great about myself afterwards. So I've never committed to that much of a distance. So
my kind of guy. Right, we're in the same boat. They're trying with this relay too. But thank you for doing this. Thank you for sticking around. Thanks for your patience and coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, these conversations have been really, really well received by our audience. And audience, if you have any questions for Michael Parker about your HVAC systems, feel free to ask. But before we jump into the meat of the conversation, just tell the audience a bit about your background and what it is that you do.
Sure. So I'm a Canadian expat living and working in Bermuda. I oversee the service operations group for BAC. And yeah, what am I now? Geez, sad to say, I'm almost 25 years in the industrial trades industry. So in one facet or another, hard to believe, but yeah, that's where I am. This is where I am now. And that's where I come from.
I thought you were going to say 25 years old. I was going to say, oh, okay, looking. Again, audience, if you have any questions, send them through. But jumping into it, I shared earlier on, I was really serious about me, trying to be cost effective, not cheap in my systems. But why is it so important to prepare an HVAC system? Because sorry, I almost knocked something over. Why is it so important to prepare them? Because most of us just turn things on and off when we need them, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I think there's several reasons why it's important to consider this. I mean, the main one that comes out to me is with the costs associated with the equipment and the runtime. So HVAC equipment in many cases can often be up to 80% of your operating costs or your utility bills, right? So if they're not tuned up and they're not running smoothly, it can be a problem as far as energy consumption, as far as reliability is concerned. And there's also other concerns, especially in the Bermuda environment with the damp, wet winters. If mold and mildew and debris or allergens are a concern for you, then it's definitely something that you should consider taking care of. I think the car analogy works well, like protect your investment. I look at it the same way on the HVAC side.
Yeah, and I was kind of diagnosed with mild asthma about 2 years ago in Florida because it's like Bermuda, very humid, and stuff in my closet was turning mold because I was not managing the AC unit properly. So I'm a living experience of that. Let's talk about spring, though. Why is it important to prepare an HVAC system for the spring as we enter the warmer months?
Well, what happens once the humidity levels are sustained at a high rate and you get the high ambient temperatures outside in the summer, the run times are longer, it's more wear and tear on the equipment, and really, if you're doing some maintenance, you're just setting yourself up to, or if you're not doing maintenance, I should say, you're setting yourself up for potential failures down the road. So those are some kind of key points I would say that make sense to consider, doing some preventative maintenance rather than reactive. And the other thing too is, as a service provider in the market, you can imagine once that heat hits, once the hot weather hits, we're inundated with calls, right? So being able to get out and take care of people in a timely and efficient manner also becomes like an operational concern for us on our side.
Okay. And audience, again, if you have any questions or comments for Michael Parker, please send them through. We'll get through as many as possible. What are some key maintenance tasks that people should perform before turning on their units?
Yeah, there's a few real simple things you can do on your own, even on an ongoing basis, annually, right? So making sure that your filter's clean on your indoor unit, whether that's a furnace or just a wall-mounted like ductless split system hanging on your wall. Cleaning your condenser coil outside your outdoor unit. That's much like a rad in your car, so it rejects the heat that is absorbed in your house through the refrigerant. But there's fans that blow across it when it's running constantly. So any debris that's in the air, any pollens that's in the air, get pulled into that coil and can often plug it up. So what I do is, like, if I'm out washing my car or doing some gardening, I'll go out and run the hose through the coil outside and just basically run the water through the coil until like the water coming out of the bottom of the coil is clean, right? So you'll notice when you start doing it, it's going to be very dirty, and then as the water starts running clean, it's a good indication that you've done some good work there. And another third one that you could easily address on your own at home is like drain lines. So the condensate that's removed, the humidity that's removed from the air in the interior of the home or the facility. It rejects that condensate to the outside through a drain line, and they can get plugged up very easily. And if they get plugged up, then of course the drain pan's going to overflow and could potentially cause some water damage to the interior of the building.
Well, going back to filters, because you mentioned filters, how often should air filters be changed, and what type of filters are best for spring? Like, are there particular filters that should be used?
Well, in this market, a lot of the ductless splits are very popular. So they actually come with a reusable filter that's on the inside coil that's mounted on your wall. It's often the big white box mounted on the wall close to the ceiling, and you can just flip the front of those up and pop the filters out. Run them underneath the water in the sink until they're clean. Let them dry off and pop them back in place, and that'll help ensure that you have good airflow across the interior coil. And again, you're not plugging it up and causing it to have to run hard. But as far as frequency goes, I recommend quarterly. If you do it quarterly, I think you're well ahead of the game, and you're setting yourself up for success there.
All righty. What you mentioned, like when people turn their ACs on, you're inundated with calls, basically. What signs indicate that an HVAC system may need a professional versus a Jamal?
Yeah, I think like one of the questions we often ask when we're attending a service call is like, how'd the equipment run last year, right? So what changed, in other words? So if you're noticing like last year at the end of the season, hey, this thing maybe isn't keeping up to temperature the way it used to, or if you're noticing any weird vibrations or noises that have presented themselves that maybe weren't there in the previous season. And oil stains in and around the piping and the outside unit is a pretty big indicator that you've got an issue that needs to be addressed right away on that one too.
Oh, wow.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely. Hi, Michael. I'm taking notes for my husband as we're going along here.
It's just nuts.
Notes for James. So like clean air filters. Okay. I also told my husband once, and I remember he quotes it to me very often, that air conditioning is my favorite invention. So I am a queen of air conditioning. I absolutely love it, which doesn't necessarily align with my environmental. I mean, geez. Anyway, so we talked about Jamal's love of being more frugal in regards to his running of the air conditioning. But how can homeowners improve their system's efficiency to reduce energy costs as the temperatures rise?
Yeah, that's a great point. So like I mentioned, 80% of your operating costs or your utility costs are often related to heating and air conditioning, right? So doing things like keeping that coil clean outside is going to be a big one. And like I said, it's so easy to do when you're out washing your car on the weekend or you're out watering the garden. You rinse that out because what happens, it plugs up with dirt, right? Then the compressor needs to run longer in order to achieve the set point that you've set in the house. And so it lowers the efficiency, it increases the power consumption, and it's more wear and tear on the equipment. So that's really a big one, I would say, that's super easy to do that a lot of people aren't aware that it's even something they should be doing.
Got it.
Yeah, it's definitely something I didn't realize my husband should be doing. That's for sure. But how I actually want to learn myself. I'm going to try and learn this spring how to maintain our air conditioning. But I did touch on the environment, my love for the environment as well. How have HVAC systems become more environmentally friendly over the years?
Well, that's an ongoing, that's something like the industry is always striving for improvement on, right? So I think back when I started in the industry, we had chlorine-based refrigerants that were very toxic to the environment as they were released into the atmosphere, breaking down the ozone layer, kind of what started off or kicked off some of the like Montreal Protocol or Paris Accord conversations back in the 90s. And now one thing we're doing is moving to new refrigerants that are not based, that are more environmentally friendly based, as well as just things like even like compressor design or motor design, right? Like now we'll go to ECM variable speed motors versus like a motor that just is on always or hammers on and off. Compressor designs as well, the way they move refrigerant through the system more efficiently by using less energy. There's always these kind of technology changes happening. They're never ending, quite honestly. It's always striving for better, moving the goalposts forwards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And of course, as technology improves, so does, I'm sure, the efficiency of HVAC systems. So that's exciting to hear that it's changed and improving all the time. Now, Michael, tell me, is it absolutely necessary to service air ducts before spring? And you said it should be done once a quarter, but is it necessary?
Well, yeah, not on the ducts necessarily. I think if you're on top of your filters, then that's going to help. That's going to help your ductwork maintain a level of cleanliness as well, right? Because if you let the filters accumulate all this debris and dander on them, then it's going to work its way through the filters eventually into your ductworks. But I would say it's on the filter front. If you're cleaning your outdoor coil on a semi-regular basis, and again, I'm in the industry, so I'll do the quarterly changes. But if you're doing semi-annual or quarterly changes on your indoor filters, then I think you're well ahead of the game and you're setting yourself up for success in the future.
Fantastic. Now, when should people consider replacing their HVAC system instead of repairing it?
Yeah, and that's something that I think, each system, each setup can be a little different, right? So it's hard to use like a blanket number there.
Okay.
I would say if you really want to drill down on that, it would be great to partner with one of our sales associates to have a conversation about life cycles based on your real world scenario. But like ASHRAE standards, general rule of thumb, if you will, it's usually 10 to 15 years is like the typical life cycle of a residential split system.
Audience, if you have any questions or comments, send them through. We'll get through as many as possible. Got a couple of questions so far. WKD Llama, are split systems less expensive to run compared to multiple window units?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So the multiple window units, as far as the technology goes, I think they're lagging a little bit in the split system. So that's something that varies too, though, because you can get, different split systems with different energy consumption ratings. And it's like anything in this world, how much do you want to spend, right? So I would say, generally speaking, I would agree with that yes, ductless splits would be more energy efficient. But again, without doing the calculations, it's really hard for me to nail that one down.
All righty. Charles H. Jeffers II is asking, when traveling, what should one set their AC on? Is it different when traveling in the summer and winter?
Yeah, that's a great question too, because one of my other energy efficiency points I was going to make was considering using like a setback on your thermostat. So when traveling, long distance, I would probably, for longer periods of time, like if I'm gone for a week plus, I would probably just have my system turned off and not, be forced paying the energy bill to condition a space that I'm not going to be occupying. But one thing we can do on a daily basis even is, if you say want to maintain your house at say 72 degrees Fahrenheit while you're home, rather than shut the equipment off, you could do what we call a setback on a thermostat of a couple degrees, 2 or 3 degrees. Say, before you go to work, you change the set point inside to 75. Then it's going to like keep the edge off of the humidity in the house, and it's not going to let the dampness really sink in. But you're also not going to be paying to keep the house occupied or to keep the temperature at 72 while you're not home. And if you just turned it off, your indoor air temperature might go up into the 80s while you're gone. And then when you come home from work and you turn it back on, it's got to run constantly to get it back down to that 72 versus just running for a shorter period of time to get it from say 75 down to 72, if that makes sense.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. It's a great tip.
Yeah, that's a good tip, I think. Yeah.
Because I always I remember I was working in Rhode Island back in like 2006. And back then there was like in the radio studio, they used to keep it on 72 year round, right? Now it gets cold up there. But that was they said, oh, that's the temperature. That's what the human body works well with. I'm like, that can't be true. Everyone's body temperature is different and so on. But from that point on, regardless how I felt at the time, I actually tried to keep my AC on between 72 and 73 for my entire life. So if you ever come in my space, that's likely what it would be on. So interesting hearing professionals speak versus people arguing in an office about what it should be. Saying that, what products and services does the BAC Group offer for those having challenges with their HVAC system?
So yeah, BAC Group, we have a whole line. We offer like basically every discipline within the group. So whether it be heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, life safety equipment, building automation, we do it all. So insulation, sheet metal, we really do it all. It's about finding the right solutions for the right opportunity and partnering with stakeholders to develop that solution to help them out.
One last comment and you can touch on this. Earlston Chapman says, problem with split system is all rooms are affected if it fails. You want to speak to that a bit?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, if your system goes down, you're down, right? And I think that's part of the reason why we're talking today, to just bring some tips to the community, right, to try to help the community have a leg up so that they're not faced with that situation. But as we all know, mechanical equipment fails. It's some would argue it's built to fail sometimes, but I'm not going to go down that path. But stuff happens, as they say. So I think if you're being proactive, then you're setting yourself up for success in the future to the best of your ability, and let the chips fall where they may.
All right. Before you head out, before we let you go, just remind people of some of the most important things to remember with their HVAC units as we head into spring and then summer.
Sure. So double check on that filter, that return air filter on your indoor unit, your AC condenser coil, the outdoor unit. Hose that off on a regular basis. Blow the dirt out of the coil till you see clear water run out the bottom. You can blow out your drain lines, and consider doing that setback on your thermostat. I think that'll help a lot of people on the energy consumption side of things. And if you ever have a question or concern, of course, don't be shy. Give us a ring. Come see us at the retail store. Drop by the service operations office. That's what we're here for. We're here to help, and always happy to have a conversation and network with new stakeholders. So please don't be shy.
All right, folks, give them a call at 292-0881. BAC group. I was trying to be short, but Michael, thank you so much for this conversation. Definitely helpful for me. I think you've helped me with a few arguments. I'm not trying to get involved in any domestic situations, but someone in the audience, Charles Jeffers, says, "Can you tell my wife that turning the temperature down to 60 doesn't make it cool faster?" Look, his wife already gave me some words in person when she saw me at an event 2 weeks ago. So, Michael, you can do what you choose with that information.
I'm going to steer clear of that one. And thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to connecting with you all again soon.
Likewise. Have a wonderful day, sir.
You too, guys.
All right. Michael Parker, folks, the BAC group. Really, I love that conversation. And I don't know about you, but man, I've been in, whether it's been work or people coming into my place telling me, "Oh, why is the temperature on this and that? And why is it off?" But the scary thing was when I had that cough and everything in my closet was almost molding and I couldn't figure it out. And they were just like, this is Florida. This is humidity. You should not have your AC unit off. And, I purchased one of those cheap fans off of Amazon to keep me cool, thinking I was doing something great. But yeah, folks, I was being frugal, to use the term that Mia said. We're going to take a final break. We'll come back. Got a daily play in about 1 minute, 20 seconds. Do not go anywhere. In the meantime, whatever platform you're on, give us a love, like, thumbs up, and we'll see you in a few.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazok Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Join us as we celebrate 5 years and 1,000 plus episodes of community conversations on Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. The Daily Hour Gala takes place on April 26th at LF Wade International Airport. For more information and advance tickets, please send an email to admin@bermudacommunications.com. We look forward to celebrating all that's great about our community with all of you.
All righty, welcome back. Thanks again to Michael Parker from the BAC Group for stopping by for such an important conversation, folks. Hey, got your HVAC systems checked. Thanks again to the BAC Group of Company, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us, make sure you subscribe, make sure you can join and become a member to get some insight and information on our YouTube channel, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram. Just make sure you give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe to our website. Well, it's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, Mia, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Since we were talking about air conditioning, it's a remember when. Audience and Mia, who is credited with inventing the first modern air conditioning system in 1902?
Probably a woman, but a man took her idea.
What's that?
Probably a woman, but then a man took the credit. I have Thomas Jefferson. I don't know. 1902?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think
Conditioning. I don't know.
All right. The answer is Willis Carrier. So you've seen the name Carrier, Carr. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Willis Carrier.
Willis Carrier. Okay.
Yeah. That's the name that's credited. In 1902, he submitted his design for the first modern air conditioning system, accomplishing a feat that was once thought to be impossible: control of the indoor environment. So yeah, he is credited with inventing the first air conditioner. No, whether he did it or not, I'm just saying who was credited with doing it. Yeah, so there you go, Carrier. Well, let's wrap it up. We've got to go, but final thoughts on the conversation this morning regarding preparing for a trade war, like what Bermuda and Bermudians can do, and then obviously the conversation regarding our HVAC systems.
Well, I absolutely love the conversation this morning, because I think with every obstacle there can be silver linings. And I think we had a great conversation with the audience this morning about farming and environmental practices and different sustainabilities, and maybe doing some negotiations with places like the Bahamas or Canada. So I think that there are definitely lots of amazing ideas that we can make sure that Bermuda is in a great place not to necessarily feel the huge effects of a trade war with the United States. And then in regards to the HVAC, well, like I said, I'm not kidding. HVAC is my favorite. It was honestly my favorite invention. So thank you, Mr. Carrier. And I thought what Michael had to say was wonderful. So all the different tips and tricks, that list at the end that he gave us to make sure that we're prepared for the season. And BAC does a great, wonderful job of keeping us all cool all spring, summer, and let's be honest, September, October, and November. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mia, I'm grateful for what you said early on in the conversation about sustainability. I'm gonna put her on the spot again. She loves to not give herself credit for what she thinks, right, folks? But I think conversations like this are made for her, because it's not just about what has been today. Sometimes we have to go back. Sometimes we have to go back and see what worked. I think we've developed a sense of everything that happened prior or history is bad, and it's not, right? Believe it or not, before trade was what it was, we were once more self-sustaining. We got away from that when everything became about an office job or, not using our hands as much. I'm guilty of it. We've got to find our own way. We have to find another way. And sometimes that way is revisiting what worked for those who came before us. I'm not saying we adopt everything, because times have changed.
Of course.
But it's okay to look at what worked prior and see how we can make it work today. As far as the conversation with Michael Parker, I appreciate the BAC Group's Ask the Expert segment so much, because I wish I knew now what I didn't know 2 years ago. I was very sick, coughing a lot, because my entire closet was mildew, right? I had to pay a lot of money to get my clothes cleaned and had to throw some things away.
Wow.
Right? Had to take a pump for a bit, right? So it's important to know, like, when to clean things, when to use things. Bermuda's a very humid place. So we have to ensure that we're taking care of our environments, I appreciate Mia's questions about the environmentally friendly options. And I also appreciate that he offered, advice on when you're traveling. Thank you to the BAC group for, trusting our platform to have these conversations and educate and engage the audience. Mia, do you have any daily inspiration for us?
I do actually, and this is very fitting for this month and the coming months. It is difficult to train for a marathon, but it is even more difficult not to be able to train for a marathon. And that
I did my 2 miles today. All right. Hip and all. I did my 2 miles this morning, 5 a.m., folks. That's right. No, I need the weather to get better so I can get back on the road, because I don't think the treadmill works for my joints. I'm dead serious. Like in Florida, I would run outside. Here, Georgia's a bit colder, and I'm not Maya. Maya will go out in the snow and run. I am not built like her. She's 20-something. I'm 40-something. Real quickly, Richard Scott said, build on the foundation of the past, build on the good, discard the bad. Absolutely, Richard.
Yes, I love that.
Absolutely. Again, we have to stop dismissing everything that came before us as bad. Mia, thank you so much for that quote as well. Folks, if you haven't already, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, make sure you give us a like, love, follow. Please share these important conversations with your friends. This discussion is something everyone needs to be a part of. How can we, as Bermudians, better prepare ourselves for a potential trade war? Every Bermudian needs to be a part of this conversation, even those who may feel comfortable in their jobs in IB, because a trade war may not be a good thing for them either.
Not good for anybody.
Exactly. So don't think because we have fancy titles and high-paying jobs, we're safe. Share the conversation. That's why we say share it. It's not about us having the answers, but it's about having don't get caught by surprise. Let's have these discussions so that when the day comes, we're all prepared. All right. All right, folks. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Mia Chambray. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.